Hello, welcome back. It's Wednesday, we have a new day. I have charging my camcorder. Let's read some more. I'd like to read about geography of chats because I just read about the country chat yesterday, and I made a video in my language Danish chat about I'm making a video about desert on the planet Earth. So Chad is a part of the Sahara Desert. Actually, they have a large river. They have this lake, Chad. I could read next. But let's try read this geography. They have this Lake Chad. And this capital in chat could maybe read about that. But let's start. This is a city called Mongo. My YouTube channel is Mongo TV. We have a city called Mongo in south part of Chad. Like 40 Mongo airports. Got Mongo airports. Could read about Mongo airports, but let's do this. I need a minute to go to my bed and a blanket. So let's read it.
Geography of Chad. From Wikipedia.
Forgot to start again.
Of Chad. Chad is one of the 47 landlocked countries in the world and is located in north-central Africa, measuring 1,200,000.
I forgot to put the speakers up. Let's try again.
Geography of Chad. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. A map of Chad. Location of Chad. Chad is one of the 47 landlocked countries in the world and is located in north-central Africa, measuring 1,284,000 square kilometers, 495,755 square mi, nearly twice the size of France and slightly more than 3 times the size of California. Most of its ethnically and linguistically diverse population lives in the south, with densities ranging from 54 persons per square kilometer in the Logon River Basin to 0.1 persons in the northern BET, Boku-Nditibesti, desert region, which itself is larger than France. The capital city of N'Djamena, situated at the confluence of the Cherai and Logon rivers, is cosmopolitan in nature, with a current population in excess of 700,000 people. Chad has 4 climatic zones. The northernmost Saharan zone averages less than 200 mm, 7.9 in, of rainfall annually. The sparse human population is largely nomadic, with some livestock, mostly small ruminants and camels. The central Sahelian zone receives between 200 and 700 mm, 7.9 and 27.6 in, rainfall and has vegetation ranging from grass/shrub steppe to thorny, open savanna. The southern zone, often referred to as the Sudan zone, receives between 700 and 1000 mm, 27.6 and 39.4 in, with woodland savanna and deciduous forests for vegetation. Rainfall in the Guinea zone, located in Chad's southwestern tip, ranges between 1000 and 1200 millimeters, 39.4 and 47.2 in. The country's topography is generally flat, 1, with the elevation gradually rising as one moves north and east away from Lake Chad. The highest point in Chad is Emi Kasai, a mountain that rises 3,100 m, 10,171 feet, in the northern Tibesti Mountains. The Endi Plateau and the Wade Islands in the east complete the image of a gradually sloping basin, which descends towards Lake Chad. There are also central highlands in the Gura region rising to 1,500 m, 4,921 feet. Lake Chad is the second largest lake in West Africa, 2, and is one of the most important wetlands on the continent. 3. Home to 120 species of fish and at least that many species of birds. The lake has shrunk dramatically in the last 4 decades due to increased water usage from an expanding population and low rainfall. Bordered by Chad, Niger, Nigeria and Cameroon, Lake Chad currently covers only 1,350 square kilometers, down from 25,000 square kilometers in 1963. The Cherai and Logon rivers, both of which originate in the Central African Republic and flow northward, provide most of the surface water entering Lake Chad. Chad is also next to Niger. Geographical placement. Located in north-central Africa, Chad stretches for about 1,800 kilometers from its northernmost point to its southern boundary. 4. Except in the far northwest and south, where its borders converge, Chad's average width is about 800 kilometers. 4. Its area of 1,284,000 square kilometers is roughly equal to the combined areas of Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and Arizona. 4. Chad's neighbors include Libya to the north, Niger and Nigeria to the west, Sudan to the east, Central African Republic to the south, and Cameroon to the southwest. 4. Chad exhibits 2 striking geographical characteristics. 4. First, the country is landlocked. 4. N'Djamena, the capital, is located more than 1,100 kilometers northeast of the Atlantic Ocean. Abidjan, a major city in the east, lies 2,650 kilometers from the Red Sea, and Faya-Largeau, a much smaller but strategically important center in the north, is in the middle of the Sahara Desert, 1,550 kilometers from the Mediterranean Sea. 4. These vast distances from the sea have had a profound impact on Chad's historical and contemporary development. 4. Coordinates, 15 degree N 19 degree E. A satellite image of Chad. A satellite image of Chad. The second noteworthy characteristic is that the country borders on very different parts of the African continent, North Africa, with its Islamic culture and economic orientation toward the Mediterranean basin, and West Africa, with its diverse religions and cultures and its history of highly developed states and regional economies. 4. Chad also borders Northeast Africa, oriented toward the Nile Valley and the Red Sea region, and Central or Equatorial Africa, some of whose people have retained classical African religions while others have adopted Christianity, and whose economies were part of the Great Congo River system. 4. Although much of Chad's distinctiveness comes from this diversity of influences, since independence their diversity has also been an obstacle to the creation of a national identity. 4. Land. Although Chadian society is economically, socially, and culturally fragmented, the country's geography is unified by the Lake Chad Basin. 4. Once a huge inland sea, the Pale Chadian Sea, whose only remnant is shallow Lake Chad. This vast portion extends west into Nigeria and Niger. 4. The larger, northern portion of the basin is bounded within Chad by the Tibesti Mountains in the northwest, the Endi Plateau in the northeast, the Wadai Highlands in the east along the border with Sudan, the Guru Massif in central Chad, and the Mandra Mountains along Chad's southwestern border with Cameroon. 4. The smaller, southern part of the basin falls almost exclusively in Chad. 4. It is delimited in the north by the Guru Massif, in the south by highlands 250 kilometers south of the border with Central African Republic, and in the southwest by the Mandra Mountains. 4. Lake Chad, located in the southwestern part of the basin at an altitude of 282 meters, surprisingly does not mark the basin's lowest point. Instead, this is found in the Bodil and Jarab regions in the north-central and northeastern parts of the country, respectively. 4. This oddity arises because the Great Stationary Dunes, bergs, of the Kanem region create a dam, preventing lake waters from flowing to the basin's lowest point. 4. At various times in the past, and as late as the 1870s, the Bur El Ghazal Depression, which extends from the northeastern part of the Lake Toth Jarab, acted as an overflow canal. Since independence, climatic conditions have made overflows impossible. 4. North and northeast of Lake Chad, the basin extends for more than 800 kilometers, passing through regions characterized by great rolling dunes separated by very deep depressions. 4. Although vegetation holds the dunes in place in the Kanem region farther north, they are bare and have a fluid, rippling character. 4. From its low point in the Jarab, the basin then rises to the plateaus and peaks of the Tibesti Mountains in the north. 4. The summit of this formation as well as the highest point in the Sahara Desert is Emi Kasai, a dormant volcano that reaches 3,414 meters above sea level. 4. The basin's northeastern limit is the Endi Plateau, whose limestone bed rises in steps etched by erosion. 4. East of the lake, the basin rises gradually to the Wadai Highlands, which mark Chad's eastern border and also divide the Chad and Nile watersheds. 4. These highland areas are part of the East Saharan Montans Eric woodlands. Ecorjan. Southeast of Lake Chad, the regular contours of the terrain are broken by the Guru Massif, which divides the basin into its northern and southern parts. 4. South of the lake lie the floodplains of the Cherai and Logon rivers, much of which are inundated during the rainy season. 4. Farther south, the basin floor slopes upward, forming a series of low sand and clay plateaus, called koros, which eventually climb to 615 meters above sea level. 4. South of the Chadian border, the koros divide the Lake Chad basin from the Ubangi river system. 4. Water systems. A topographic map of Chad. Lake Chad in a 2001 satellite image. On the top, the changes from 1973 to 1997 are shown, with the lake shrinking. This astronaut photograph features one of the largest of a series of 10 mostly freshwater lakes in the Aunyanga Basin in the heart of the Sahara Desert of northeastern Chad. Permanent streams do not exist in northern or central Chad. 4. Following infrequent rains in the Endi Plateau and Wadai Highlands, water may flow through depressions called Eneris and Wadis. 4. Often the result of flash floods. Such streams usually dry out within a few days as the remaining puddles seep into the sandy clay soil. 4. The most important of these streams is the Batha, which in the rainy season carries water west from the Wadai Highlands and the Guru Massif to Lake Fitri. 4. Cherai River. Chad's major rivers are the Cherai and the Logon and their tributaries, which flow from the southeast into Lake Chad. 4. Both river systems rise in the highlands of Central African Republic and Cameroon, regions that receive more than 1,250 millimeters of rainfall annually. 4. Fed by rivers of Central African Republic, as well as by the Bura Salamat, Bura Auk, and Burasara rivers of southeastern Chad. The Cherai River is about 1,200 kilometers long. 4. From its origins near the city of Sa, the middle course of the Cherai makes its way through swampy terrain. The lower Cherai is joined by the Logon River near N'Djamena. 4. The Cherai's volume varies greatly, from 17 cubic meters per second during the dry season to 340 cubic meters per second during the wettest part of the year. 4. The Logon River is formed by tributaries flowing from Cameroon and Central African Republic. 4. Both shorter and smaller in volume than the Cherai, it flows northeast for 960 kilometers. Its volume ranges from 5 to 85 cubic meters per second. 4. At N'Djamena the Logon empties into the Cherai, and the combiner drivers flow together for 30 kilometers through a large delta and into Lake Chad. 4. At the end of the rainy season in the fall, the river overflows its banks and creates a huge floodplain in the delta. 4. The seventh largest lake in the world, and the fourth largest in Africa, Lake Chad is located in the Sahelian zone, a region just south of the Sahara Desert. 4. The Cherai River contributes 95% of Lake Chad's water, an average annual volume of 40 billion cubic meters, 95% of which is lost to evaporation. 4. The size of the lake is determined by rains in the southern highlands bordering the basin and by temperatures in the Sahel. 4. Fluctuations in both cause the lake to change dramatically in size, from 9,800 square kilometers in the dry season to 25,500 at the end of the rainy season. 4. Lake Chad also changes greatly in size from one year to another. 4. In 1870 its maximum area was 28,000 square kilometers. 4. The measurement dropped to 12,700 in 1908. 4. In the 1940s and 1950s, the lake remained small, but it grew again to 26,000 square kilometers in 1963. 4. The droughts of the late 1960s, early 1970s, and mid-1980s caused Lake Chad to shrink once again, however. 4. The only other lakes of importance in Chad are Lake Fatry, in Bartha Prefecture, and Lake Iro in the marshy southeast. 4. Climate. The Lake Chad Basin embraces a great range of tropical climates from north to south. Although most of these climates tend to be dry. 4. Apart from the far north, most regions are characterized by a cycle of alternating rainy and dry seasons. 4. In any given year, the duration of each season is determined largely by the positions of two great air masses, a maritime mass over the Atlantic Ocean to the southwest and a much drier continental mass. 4. Chad map of Köppen climatic classification. Car facing difficulties during rain season. During the rainy season, winds from the southwest push the moister maritime system north over the African continent, where it meets and slips under the continental mass along a front called the Intertropical Convergence Zone. 4. At the height of the rainy season, the front may reach as far as Kanem Prefecture. 4. By the middle of the dry season, the Intertropical Convergence Zone moves south of Chad, taking rain with it. 4. This weather system contributes to the formation of three major regions of climate and vegetation. 4. Saharan region. A sunstorm at Abidjan Airport, Chad, 2005. The Saharan region covers roughly the northern half of the country, including Baku and Tibesti Prefecture along with the northern parts of Kanem, Bartha and Biltine prefectures. 4. Much of this area receives only traces of rain during the entire year. At Fire Largo, for example, annual rainfall averages less than 12 mm, 0.47 in, and there are nearly 3,800 hours of sunshine. 4. Scattered small oases and occasional wells provide water for a few date palms or small plots of millet and garden crops. 4. In much of the north, the average daily maximum temperature is about 32 degrees C, 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit, during January, the coolest month of the year, and about 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, during May, the hottest month. 4. On occasion, Strong winds from the northeast produce violent sunstorms. 4. In northern Biltine Prefecture, a region called the Morsha plays a major role in animal